Mike Jason. He is with RBC Insurance and specializes in wealth management.
Hello, everybody. I'm responsible for the wealth side of RBC Insurance and all of the wealth products. So that would be annuities as well as segregated funds, and assisting advisors and their clients with some tax planning strategies, as well as talking about estate planning and how that factors in and how insurance products can be used in that space. I got started in the business back in 1993. And I spent the first 7 years as a financial advisor, and the last 21 years, I guess, on the dark side, as we like to call it, on the wholesale side. So really, what my expertise is really just being there as a resource for advisors, helping them with any questions that they may have, and being somebody that they can go to.
How much time and how much hassles that the client will face if one day they have to do probate?
I've heard 3 months is actually probably too short. It may take quite a bit longer. When they've got all that done, now they can file for probate. So they send all the documents into the government. Now, before COVID, the average length of time the government was taking to do probate was 9 months. With COVID, it could be much longer. We already had 3 months plus 9 months. That's a year. All the assets of the deceased during this time are frozen. Nobody can access them. Then once the government has completed probate, they then send a letter with the probate number and everything to the executor. And then they file the letter in the public registry along with the will. Now, once the executor gets that letter, they are then allowed to disperse the assets according to the will. If they're smart, they will wait. So naturally, the beneficiaries are going to be asking for the money because they want things to move on. But once that letter is filed in the probate registry, that's when the 210-day window starts. Now, the reason for that 210 days is that is the time for any creditors or anyone who wants to make a claim on the estate to come forward. If no creditors come forward, that's great. Then they can disperse the assets. But they didn't wait for the 210 days, and then somebody comes forward during that 210 days with a claim and is ultimately successful in their claim. Then the executor would be personally liable to pay that claim. Well, even if they come forward on the first day, you still have to let the remaining 209 days pass. So if a creditor does come forward, then immediately the executor has to engage a lawyer, has to engage legal counsel. So then they have to be paid. Now, the legal counsel isn't going to do anything. They're going to wait for the whole 210 days so that they know if there's any more creditors that come along. Then the lawyer will begin to work on the proceedings now. So then you enter into the discovery stage. Of course, it's like typical legal action. If the matter is going to head to court, well, herein lies another issue. And again, before COVID, when you wanted to take somebody to court, from the time that you initiated the process till it actually got to the courtroom was often 2 years. And ultimately, it may get thrown out of court. But in the meantime, legal bills have to be paid. So that's draining the estate. Everybody thinks of probate as the cost. And they all think, oh, the cost isn't that big. If it's a blended family, I guarantee you there's going to be lawsuits. Canada doesn't necessarily acknowledge custom. They look at law. If one of the children decides to complain in Canada, well, it's going to go before the courts, and it's going to get really messy. It can tear a family apart. That's why I say that this topic is something that people need to start talking about while mom and dad are alive, and there's an agreement that's been signed. Then if somebody ever complains later, there is this agreement that the courts can refer back to. It's actually more important for the younger clients because they're the ones that are going to be receiving the money.
It's hard for them to mention about this topic to their parents. However, I will talk to the parents. I am dealing with the older generations, I think, because they have the urgency.
And even if the parents have a lawyer that they work with or an accountant that they work with, bring those people in as well. Get all the people at the table so that we have a good understanding of what's going to happen.